Well, good morning. Well, guys, it's still not morning yet. Still good evening, I guess you should say. We are looking at a severe thunderstorm watch that has been issued now, posted for, basically an entire area from north. This basically goes from Interstate 40 up north all the way down into Interstate 20 to the south. Tornado watch here, pretty large one. It may even go further south, and it actually goes all the way down to almost San Antonio and Austin down in those. So pretty big severe thunderstorm watch here. Thunderstorms are pretty widespread here tonight. They are, mostly remains a wind and heavy rain threat. There really are no surprises tonight. We didn't think there would be, and as of right now, there's everything is unfolding exactly like we thought it would. Rain has become pretty widespread within this area. Actually, we've seen some stuff develop out ahead of it, and since everything is moving incredibly slow, it is going to have a chance to produce quite a bit of rain, and there could be, especially in these areas at sea, some of these storm mergers, there's going to be some opportunities for some flooding. As of right now, it looks like to me the greatest threat for flooding would be where we're seeing these storm mergers up here to the north across southern Oklahoma. Pretty good wind up there in that line too. And also kind of down into this area where we're seeing storms merge, maybe down there in Baylor County and down there to the north of Throckmorton. This activity is eventually going to make its way towards Wichita Falls, but since it's not moving very quickly, it looks like it's going to be probably closer to 1 a.m. or so before any of that gets here. The overall severe threat with this is not particularly high. This is kind of what we consider lower end severe weather stuff. These are, we're not looking at wall clouds tonight. We're not looking at funnels and tornadoes. This is a completely different type of severe weather event tonight than what we've been dealing with as of late. So if you take a look here, I'm going to zoom in, and we're going to look in a little bit closer. Heavy rain bands pushing through Lawton now. Those are not severe. Those are sub-severe, not severe. In fact, I don't even see any hail signatures showing up. Maybe if there is, it'd be very small there. It looks like the heaviest rain pretty much centered over Lawton, maybe just north of there. This cluster here is going to eventually merge with that area of storms off to the west. And there's some really strong winds blowing throughout this, and there's also some strong winds just southwest of Vernon at this hour. I can show you the wind velocities, and when you put those on there, especially where you see these green colors, these light green colors, that shows strong winds blowing throughout this. And some of those winds, if we stop this from moving, and this is estimated by radar, showing wind gust up to 56 to 60 miles per hour in some of this stuff here. So, this is blowing through Jackson County right now. This is kind of over rural areas outside of Altus anyway. So 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts perhaps within that area of storms. Pretty strong here at this time. We go down to the south, and I'm also looking at a pretty strong bow echo now, headed producing some strong winds headed just south of Vernon. This is going to be moving kind of east-northeast, moving the heaviest winds probably passing just south of Vernon. In fact, Cameron Lindsay is in the First Alert Storm Tracker. He was in Vernon. Cameron, are you still out there right now? And what do you see on your end? And to not
here in Vernon right now, it's kind of waiting on those strong winds to kind of come towards Vernon, and they're starting to take a little bit more of an eastward turn just by a little bit. But right now we're just about in like downtown Vernon right now, and so we're sitting here waiting. And it is worth mentioning that there is some pretty warm and pretty soupy air. Dew point's at 70 degrees, temperatures at about 75 degrees, so some pretty good rich air out ahead of these storms. And we're starting to see the lightning frequencies start to pick up a little bit as the storm does come closer. But it is a slow moving storm, so it's taking its sweet time to get here. But that's about all we've got going on right now here in Vernon, Ken.
All right, thanks a lot, Cameron. So we really hadn't had a whole lot of action tonight there with the tracker. They're out. Of course, we're keeping an eye on things. We really never expected this to be a tornadic situation here tonight, but certainly is producing some strong winds out there. And you can see the bow on the reflectivity showing up. Look at that bowing feature. And again, that goes south of Vernon over towards Grayback. Some pretty strong winds headed towards 183. Heavy rains are really increasing across Wilbarger County now, and probably seeing some threats for flooding showing up there. Let's go down to the south a little bit, and you're seeing heavy rain and storms kind of merging in a line from about Seymour down to Throckmorton, and this is just where these storms are just kind of training over each other, and it is putting down some very heavy rainfall. There's also some bouts of maybe some small hail in this. Let's look at the winds and see what the winds are looking like down this way. This is a good ways away from the radar site, so it's hard to tell, but there do appear to be some pretty strong winds down there in Throckmorton County. Could see some wind gusts there pick up in Seymour shortly too, so keep an eye on that. By the way, I think that the strongest winds up there in Wilbarger County are going to miss or maybe just go barely south of Vernon, but it is a close call, so there could be some strong winds there too. And eventually that's going to kind of merge with those stronger winds up to the north of the Red River. So there could be some pretty significant winds perhaps maybe over into this area here over the next couple of hours. So maybe Granville, not tornadic tonight, but you could get some strong winds as these storms kind of merge and kind of move over into those areas. Down to the south, again, some gusty winds perhaps with some of that stuff down to the south, but as of right now it doesn't appear to be too heavy, too strong, but a lot of heavy rain down that way. Now here in the Falls, we don't have a whole lot going on at this time, so you probably can see some lightning off to the west. No warnings in effect here, but this line, especially if it starts to bow out, you know, it could wind up picking up some steam here soon. I still think it'll be around 1 o'clock before it gets to Wichita Falls. You know, even when it does get here, our main concerns going to be some gusty winds and some heavy rain. That's what we're expecting. Now, we've said all along this would be a situation where we see lightning and a line of gusty winds and heavy rain pushing on through. So we've got some people asking about, you know, are there any tornado warnings out there tonight? No, there are none. You know, there's no rotation on radar. You get some spins in some of this stuff, but that's because you're seeing some bowing features. That's not tornadic spins, but you're seeing some bowing features on some of this stuff. So you get a little bit of a spin on some of it, but that's because there's a little weak area of low pressure that develops sometimes in those storms. But they're bow echoes and strong straight line winds. There really are no, you know, tornadic circulation showing up. Yeah, going to be quite a bit of rain. Yeah, this water falls in those watersheds, and it's going to continue to add up. You know, hopefully we'll get to 100% before all is said and done. You know, Roxy, Jacksboro, but yeah, but it'll be late. It'll be well after midnight before anything gets to you. Maybe probably after 1 or 2 o'clock before it gets there too. Yeah, Albany, you're going to get into some of this heavy rain and storm activity. Actually, those are just to your west at this hour. So if we go down, there's Albany, and you can see those thunderstorms. They're just not moving that quickly, but I do expect a bit of a push, and maybe in about an hour, maybe an hour and a half from now, those storms could get into Albany, and then again closer to 12:30, 1 o'clock for those things start getting down towards Graham. But if they do accelerate as they start bowing out, time frames could increase a bit. So let's see if that happens. You know, sometimes it can increase quite a bit too. So we're watching them. But again, the tornado threat, if you're wanting to go to bed, go ahead. You know, no threat for, I really see basically, you know, any tornado threat is basically near zero. It ain't quite zero, but it's pretty close. Or the low-level wind shear is just not there to support tornadic activity. You know, so it just looks to me like there's just going to be just straight line winds, wind gust, and heavy rain, flooding, some flooding. You know, that'll blow on through, and we'll see how this what this does to the atmosphere, Jetlina. To me, this could zap. This could produce a lot of cool air over us. So, you know, the atmosphere is going to have to recover tomorrow. It's a lot of rain across Texas tonight too, so that's pulling a lot of the moisture out of the atmosphere. You know, you're going to have to see some sunshine tomorrow, daytime heating to heat things back up. You know, you don't have a real strong system in the area. You got a front dropping down. You got a little thunderstorm outflow boundaries located somewhere pretty close by, and you know, that's what you're depending. It's kind of mesoscale features tomorrow, so it could be pretty significant if we do see daytime heating and get those outflow boundaries in the right place. And you know, that's what you look for tomorrow. Is that they look for those boundaries. So. Yeah, just rain and lightning and Kroll. There are some, you know, looks like most of the heaviest activities are going to be just east of you. You know, Braden, these days you guys play on those turf fields, but if you play on grass field, no. But if you play on the turf fields, yeah, it should be all right. I don't expect thunderstorms tomorrow until after 5 o'clock. Yeah, I said the tornado threat yesterday was low end, but the you know, the issue with yesterday was again hard to see that coming, but there was slightly better wind shear last night, and that kind of helped out. That and we were dealing with supercells already. We're not dealing with supercells at this time. We're dealing with clusters of storms. They behave differently, so the chances of any tornado very, very, very low. What's up, brother? No, I doubt. Very doubtful we'll have any tornado warnings there in Vernon tonight. Still see some pretty good winds down there to the south of Vernon. still coming through pretty good. Doesn't look quite as strong as they did. You're seeing some of the winds beginning to pick up now in a little storm cluster southeast of Grayback. A pretty good little storm cluster down there. Looks like a downburst signature trying to show up there to me. You see the reds and the greens, and that's what you look for with rotating thunderstorms. But when you're looking at it, you're trying to find where you got cyclonic rotation, and these are winds blowing towards the radar, and these are winds blowing away. So this tells me there's a divergent signature there. So there could be a bit of an increase in some damaging winds here, or some stronger wind gusts there with that little cluster of cells down to the south. So I'll keep an eye on it, but that cell kind of heading up towards Electra. There could be some small hail in that too, along with the thunder and the lightning. And you can see that bow now going right at 183, just south of Vernon. It's been beginning to pick up speed, so it could sneak into Wichita Falls by midnight because it's beginning to pick up speed. So midnight 1 a.m. is when that should be here, starting to pick up speed. It's been really slow, but now that you're getting the bow echoes, you're starting to see momentum carry the line, so you're beginning to see it speed up. So it could be, I hope it is. I'd like to be able to go home and go to bed at a decent hour. I did not go to sleep last night until 4 a.m. I think I had too much adrenaline flowing from, the craziness of those storms last night. So I just couldn't go to sleep. And tonight I'm not sleepy either, so I don't know. But you do see they'll pick up there in the wind speeds there headed towards Electra. So you could see a little increase in some damaging wind threats there in Electra here soon. Those winds are still really strong up here in Jackson County. Let's see how strong they're estimated on the radar to be. 65. Then this is a radar estimate of 65 mile-per-hour winds across southern Jackson County. South of Altus, kind of blowing right along the Red River, headed right into Tillman. The Frederick area, Tillman County last night was really hit hard by those tornadoes. Thankfully, they were over mainly rural areas. So with it being over rural areas, we didn't see a lot of damage. There are actually people on social media that are mad because the Weather Service only rated that at EF0. But there was nothing out there for it to really hit. So the damage scale is based upon the EF scale is based upon damage. It's not based upon winds. It's based upon damage. And you look at damage and say, okay, well, based upon what I'm seeing here with this damage, this was the winds that were probably blowing with this tornado. So since it didn't hit much, there wasn't a whole lot to survey. So they only found EF1 damage out there, but velocity signatures on radar suggest much, much higher, much higher. Some of the highest wind speeds we've ever clocked on Earth. But, the question is that down at the Earth's surface or just above it? I think it did get down to the Earth's surface, and if there had been any types of homes or anything in the way, we probably would have seen some very, very significant damage out of that. But thankfully, that wasn't the case. It did not hit the towns of Loveland or Hollister or Frederick. It stayed out of our open rural areas. But we're about to see some strong winds once again blowing to Frederick here pretty soon. And we'll probably see some strong winds down to the south there, the Red River too. You can really see the winds picking up here with this little signature. Looks like almost a downburst signature showing up here south of the Herald area, about 50 mile-per-hour winds. Let's see if the Weather Service is mentioning that. No, not really. So it could be a little hail in that too there, that little cell. These are the little cells out ahead of it. Looks like there could be a little hail in them. Nothing big. We got heavy rain and a little hail moving into Throckmorton now, small hail. And again, these storms are picking up speed now. I said 1 o'clock in Wichita Falls. I'm going to go about maybe midnight, 12:30 now, at the very latest 12:30. You're seeing some spin down to the south, but again, these are not tornadic signatures. These are the thunderstorm complexes themselves. They're generating what's called a little mesoscale vortex, and it's called an MVC. Meso-vortex, mesoconvective, MCV, that's what it is, mesoconvective vortex. And oftentimes you get these thunderstorms and they start generating their little own areas of low pressure, and you kind of see that happen, and can still produce some pretty gusty winds. In fact, there's also on the back side of this area of storms there's what's called a wake low. And it's, you know, when you see the thunderstorms depart and then you begin to see things, you begin to see, I think it's warming that takes place real fast behind it. And you can see the winds really pick up, and there can be some strong winds behind the line of storms. So that's something to, you know, you might experience in the wee hours of the morning across parts of northwest Texas, southwest Oklahoma. Very humid, very tropical-like outside tonight. Very, very much feels like the tropics. Yeah, I don't see a looking all across. You can see some flooding down south, and a lot of storms. There's a big mess of storms pushing on through. So we got bow echoes in eastern Jackson County heading down to Tillman County. There's your severe thunderstorm warning for Frederick. That's strong winds. You got the severe thunderstorm warning still for Vernon. You can see the counterclockwise spin on this this bow echo here, but this is going south. I think the strongest winds on this would go south of Vernon, just by looking at radar trends. It still could get some gusty winds there in Vernon, but I just think that the strongest winds are going to be to the south. And you can see this downburst. You can clearly see a downburst signature there on that cell on the eastern side of Wilbarger County, just south of Oakley, Union, and Harold, those areas. You can see the reds and the greens departing. You know, a lot of times with tornadoes, we like to see that come together because it's convergent. These are divergent signatures, which indicates some strong winds hitting the Earth's surface and spreading out. Kind of like what happened here in August. So this would be more of what we call a wet microburst, wet downburst. That one was a dry. The dry downburst usually produces stronger winds. So Vernon, you got some wind, but I think the strongest wind's going south of you. Look at those strong winds now up here, about to cross over into Tillman County, where you see those bright blues and those bright whites and those light blue colors. Those are some winds at least in excess of 60 to 70, about to overspread the western parts of Tillman County. Those are some strong, strong winds. Headed right at Frederick, and then eventually probably Loveland, Hollister, those areas. So, but this time it's not tornadic in nature. This time it's straight line winds. They're spread out. They're not confined. They're spread out. But it can still produce, you know, you could argue and say that it can still produce tornadic-like winds. You know, people will always get scared of tornadoes and whatnot, but you know, sometimes these straight line winds can produce tornadic-like wind damage. And you know, a lot of times people aren't as scared of that as they are of a little tornado. It looks like the winds have just really blossomed there. It really is picking up there, just west of Tipton. That is some, folks, that is some really, really strong winds showing up here in this storm here. Straight line winds up close to 80 now being clocked there, moving into Tipton. Now, this is radar estimates, but since this is so close to the radar site, I would think that this is probably going to be legit. So it looks like we got tornadic-like winds, 80-mile-per-hour winds perhaps moving into Tipton. And that's going to head towards Frederick and Manitou. I hope it does not knock our radar offline. That's some strong winds, though. Down to the south, we still see these downburst signatures headed up to the north. You're about to see the wind pick up there in Harold here soon. So strong wind gusts there in Harold from that downburst signature showing up, coming to your south. And you've also got strong winds coming in from the west with that storm right along 183 just south of Vernon. Vernon, I think you're missing out on the strongest wind gust. Cameron, what are you guys doing now?
So right now we are kind of deviating just a little bit. We are just south of Vernon, but with this storm starting to pick up speed, I'm not going to be able to catch it right on time. So what I have to do is I'm going towards 287 and going to start making my way towards Oakland Union, and then eastward on Southwest Park, or not, excuse me, 287. So as I do that, what the anticipation is to be able to basically get right inside those pretty intense winds there, and just kind of ride it out for a little bit of a thrill. So that's what we're doing. Probably got about 10 minutes or so before we're in it. So that's our plan right now. And yeah.
All right. Well, maybe we can get some. We got the weather station there on the tracker, so maybe you can clock some of those wind speeds as they come down. It's not, at least the storms you're on, it's not like widespread winds. It's in two areas. There's one south of Harold, and there's one that's going to be moving kind of on the, or just east of Vernon, or kind of on the southeast side of Vernon, kind of toward, like you say, kind of over towards Oakley Union and Harold. Oakley Union is actually where it's headed towards. So, you do got the swirl there, but I think that's going to be with kind of a little bit of a little bow echo wind signature there, kind of an MCV kind of thing. I don't think that's tornadic signature, but pretty strong winds in there nonetheless, for sure. But those winds up north of you, Cameron, there are some big winds up there into up there in Frederick County. I'm clocking some of those winds up there around 80 miles per hour, moving into Tipton now. So very strong winds. All right, let's go back over to the radar, and we are tracking these thunderstorms here tonight. Quite a bit of lightning out there, but they are picking up speed, and they're moving pretty much. The line itself is steadily moving east. Individual cells are moving east, but occasionally, whenever you get these bow echoes, they can deviate the motion some, and they may move a little more east, northeast, a little more north than east. So that's possible. And then you got these cell mergers and whatnot. So heavy rainfall, especially there along 287, western Wichita, and eastern parts of Wilbarger County. But then coming in behind all of that, once the line passes, your threat for severe weather for the night is over. But there could be some strong winds. We call it a wake low could develop in the place of this. So you see a quick drop off in temperatures with these thunderstorms, and you see a quick rise in temperatures behind it. And that creates an area of low pressure. Well, cool air flows towards warm air, and that's what creates this difference in temperature. It's this sudden increase that creates this wake low and creates strong winds. So if you're watching this in any of these places right here, Vernon or over towards Electra, you've got some pretty good winds in some of those areas. I look at the latest velocities, and the winds have really picked up. You're seeing some pretty decent winds here. See the Weather Service is saying thing, Nick. So given this strong wind going down from severe for far southern Oklahoma, had a 60-mile-per-hour wind gust at Altus Air Force Base a short while ago. But this is down to the south, and this is just south of Harold. Wind velocity, this is from the radar, estimates that is up to 60 miles per hour. And then back to the south of Vernon, estimates from the radar are kind of in the 50 to 60 range there too. So at least perhaps 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gust in some of this stuff here as it makes its way towards Oakland Union and then up towards Harold. This is not tornadic in nature. This is going to be strong winds. But the strong winds can produce tornadic light damage too. There's also some gusty winds perhaps down here towards Lake Kemp as these storms are moving through Baylor County tonight. But up to the north, you can really see where these really strong winds are. I'm not sure why our radar does. It's been doing a lot of crazy things lately. Maybe it's a software bug. I don't know. But looking at these winds here, these wind speeds, see, that's not correct. And whatever this is covering up, and I'm not able to see. So I don't know what causes our radar to do that. I think it's a bug in the software. Probably what it is. But you can really see those winds accelerating over here now. You're probably seeing a storm merger, and that's probably why you're seeing these winds increase now across the northern parts of Wilbarger County. So some damaging winds, probably some power outages coming there in Oakland Union and Harold. Maybe some pretty good rain now in Electra, but I don't think you're seeing the strong winds there. I don't think anyway. Let's see. Yeah, there's some strong winds just west of Electra, but it looks like the heaviest winds for now will probably go north of you. But watch these strong winds moving into Tillman County. Some, at least 60, 70 mile per hour winds up here, headed right at Frederick here soon. And you're probably going to see it merge with these stronger wind gusts down to the south. So we're probably going to wind up seeing some pretty strong winds, take shape kind of over into this area here soon as all that stuff tries to merge together. And in addition to that, the very heavy rain and flooding. So far we haven't seen a lot of flood warnings. I guess the acceleration is allowing for these storms to not put down a whole lot of rain. I still think with the saturated soils, though, we could still see some flooding conditions. Cameron, let's go to Cameron now and the First Alert Storm Tracker. Cameron, it looks like you got a lot of lightning where you are. You about to catch up to those wind signatures? But he is in the process. Cameron is anyway of trying to get in position with those strong wind signatures over there into Wilbarger County. So Cameron, can you hear me now? Back over to the radar then. Maybe we can get Cameron in a minute. So we'll see if we can get him here in just a second. All right, so strong winds moving through Wilbarger County, Pumpkin Center. You could get it. Maybe some small hail in these areas too. You know, the Weather Service just mentioned this meso-vortex developing east of Tipton. So, you know, Weather Service pretty concerned about that damaging wind signature moving through Tillman County tonight. Yeah, that is some crazy winds. It has been very, very strong. I wish that this, you know, this little pink color wasn't on there. I don't know how to fix that, but that is some really strong winds coming here into the Frederick area at this hour. So damaging winds likely into this area, part of the storm. Downwind, you can see the warning extends downwind, and it will also cover the area from Chattanooga, Loveland, and Granville. Now, I know you guys had bad weather last night, but you got a different type of weather, not tornadic activity, but maybe more dangerous because that was confined to, you know, small area. This is pretty much widespread tornadic-like winds with these strong winds. Now, it could weaken some by the time it gets to you, but at least right now, some big-time wind blowing through Tillman County. Now, down into Wilbarger County, the winds aren't quite as strong, but they're still pretty gusty. Let's try to take Cameron again and the First Alert Storm Tracker. Cameron, looks like you got some good lightning there. You guys in Oakland Union or Herald yet?
Ken, yeah, I got you now. So we are 4 miles west of Oakland Union right now. Yeah, you're starting to see that lightning kick up very well. You're also starting to see the winds. I mean, you can't really see the winds kick up, but we're keeping an eye on our weather station right now. We're not able to pull super accurate results quite yet. We're not quite in the heaviest of the winds yet. And, you know, we're also driving, so kind of got some skewed results right now, but these winds are really starting to kick up. You can kind of feel them tugging on the tracker a little bit as I'm driving down 287. I'm only going 45 right now, so they're not, you know, obviously can't go too fast with these, but it's raining sideways. Those winds are really starting to kick up now, so probably go onward towards Oakland Union, get in Oakland Union, pull over, and then start clocking these wind speeds to see how strong they're going, but they're definitely really starting to whip up right now, Ken.
Thanks a lot, Cameron. Y'all stay safe out there. So back over to the radar. So somebody wanted me to ask me about what's going on up here in Elgin, Oklahoma. And if we go into Elgin, Oklahoma, we're looking into northern parts of Comanche County. There's been some good storms with heavy rain moving through Lawton, and that's basically what you're seeing there in Elgin. Is heavy rain. You know, it's not moving super quick, and you're going to see some more heavy rain and storms moving from the west. This activity is not producing much in the way of a strong wind gust at this time. But we do have some stronger winds coming in through Tillman County and maybe into parts of Jackson County that could eventually make their way towards Lawton and towards the Elgin area. So we could wind up seeing perhaps maybe a bit of an increase in some damaging winds in some of those spots. Matter of fact, you can see this little vortex that the Weather Service is talking about. You can see it there on radar. You see this little hook here? That's that little vortex they were just talking about. I don't think this is tornadic in nature. But, you know, you do see there could be at least maybe a gust-nado in there headed right towards Manitou. So there could be some warnings that may come out on that. Looks like mostly going to stay severe from now. But that's going to enhance some of those damaging wind potentials. So there could be a gust-nado maybe developing there near Manitou. And what a gust-nado would be a swirl that develops underneath the shelf cloud or underneath the leading edge of the storm. You know, usually when you get a tornado, they're usually kind of with the hook. It gets a similar situation here, but gust tornadoes are usually not connected to the cloud. They're just a dust swirl, kind of like a big dust devil, a dust swirl underneath the leading edge of that storm. Sometimes they can do damage still. Usually it's very weak EF0 type stuff, but they can still do damage sometimes. So we'll have to, you know, keep an eye on that here at this time. But as of right now, it doesn't look like anything that's too concerning in terms of tornadic potential. But certainly, I think the bigger concern is the strong winds that are blowing through this thing here too. And that is some very strong winds coming out, very, very, very strong. Down to the south, and we're back down here to Electra and the area where Cameron and the tracker are located. And a new severe thunderstorm warning has just come out. Matter of fact, Jacob, let's go ahead and go on the 24/7 news channel too here in a minute. And let's plan on doing a weather update over the next national break on News Channel 6. So I'll pull up Unity and be on channel 2 so you can get me, so you can tell me when we're ready to roll. So that'll help us both out. So. Yeah, let's go ahead and go. You can go ahead and just go live on the 24/7 channel, and then just let me know when there's a. I've got the volume down, but it's here. You just let me know when you're ready to do the update here. So on News Channel 6, and again, it's just over a national break. All right, thank you. So we've got a pretty good area of severe thunderstorm warnings now issued for these strong winds. And this covers the area from Lawton all the way down into the northern part of Wichita County. That would include Okay, thanks. So yeah, just let me know whenever we're in a position to do. And I'll be back just a second, guys. Making just a quick break. Give me just a second. All right, I am back for right now. We are still. I'm tracking 2 areas. There's a lot of clutter here on the radar. Let me see if I can get tone some of this stuff down here just a little bit so it doesn't look quite so busy. All right, so what we're looking at is 2 areas here on the radar. We're now live on both the 24/7 News Channel and also on Facebook Live. If there is, we will do some periodic little updates on CBS as well, but most of which of our coverage is going to stay right here on the 24/7 News Channel and also on the Facebook Live once again. So I'm in the process of coordinating a little cut-in on News Channel 6 here, and we probably will go on that here in just a second. So. Yeah, I can hear you. All right, so here is our radar here tonight. We're tracking some pretty big thunderstorms, mostly wind. Matter of fact, quite a bit of wind blowing through Tillman County at this hour. Strong winds at least in excess of 60 to 70 being clocked there across Tillman County, and that bow echo is moving quickly now to the southeast, and it's going to merge with these strong thunderstorms down to the south. If we look down south, there's a couple of pretty strong thunderstorms with heavy rain and lightning and strong wind gusts there along 287 from east of Vernon over towards Oakland Union and into Harold and over towards Electra. These storms that are moving to the north are going to be merging with that line of storms to the south, and there could be some really strong winds that may try to kick up into this area here shortly. From there, the warning does extend down into Wichita Falls, the northern part of it, in the Burt Burnett area, Randolette, Duval. But that storm, it's moving pretty quickly. And I think that these storms, if they can kind of hold together, it depends on the behavior once they begin to merge with each other. But still, it's like 12:30, 1 o'clock before they're down this way. There's also some strong storms to the south, but there's no warnings on those. Right now, we do have Cameron Lindsay in the First Alert Storm Tracker that's along 287. Cameron, how strong are some of these winds in these storms?
Yeah, Ken, it is absolutely wicked out here right now. The conditions are absolutely horrendous right now. We're pretty much moving into Oakland Union. We talking almost 10 minutes ago, I was only 4 minutes away. I'm still right now about a minute outside of Oakland Union. You cannot see the lightning. The way the lightning is with the strobe effect right now is also horrendous. And you asked about those winds. While our station on top of the tracker, we did get gusts up to 70 miles per hour. So these winds are really cranking, and that mixed with the lightning, with the wind, is absolutely horrendous out here right now, especially on these roads. So we're taking our time right now, keeping an eye on these things. We'll keep to clock these wind speeds for you, Ken.
Yeah, these are really some dangerous storms. They're turning into some dangerous storms anyway, so y'all stay safe out there. Back over the radar, and look at that push of those strong winds now north. This blew through the Herald area. It's blown through Oakland Union. It's coming up on the river at this hour and about to cross over into the southern parts of Tillman County and kind of head up towards maybe Frederick and over into the Loveland Hollis area. You saw bad weather last night. This is different bad weather, but still damaging winds with possible power outages on the way there to Tillman County. And again, these should kind of make their way down into the northern parts of Wichita County maybe over the next 1 to 2 hours. So we'll be watching it. Remember, we're live on the 24/7 news channel and also on Facebook for those of you that want to see more weather coverage. All right, so.
Sponsored by Texoma Storm Shelters.
But that is producing some strong wind gusts. What I'm seeing now is strong winds, of course, moving into Frederick. Those winds may not be quite as strong as they were, but they're still pretty strong. You can definitely see where these blue colors are showing. Those are 70 to 75 mile per hour winds being estimated by radar about to cross the river. Now, these storms that are coming up from the south are going to interact with these boundaries up to the north, and there could be some increasing convergence and some pretty significant winds that may try to develop into this area here soon. So if you are over here towards Frederick, Davidson, or up there into Hollister, I know you guys are nervous as of last night, but these are not tornadic winds. Remember, they could be considered tornadic-like winds because they're strong, but you're not looking at the swirl and the magnitude of what we saw last night. These are thunderstorm winds that are being generated across the area. Now, as these two boundaries interact, don't be surprised if and you probably wouldn't be able to see them anyway, if we get some gustnados going there into Tillman County. Gustnados would be like big dust devils, and they produce, usually they don't produce much in the way of damage, but they can snap some tree twigs and that kind of stuff. They can produce EF0 kind of damage, but they're not tornadoes. They're not connected to the thunderstorm cloud. They're underneath it. So it's like a big dust devil is what it basically boils down to. But pretty wicked storms. Tillman County's just been ground zero the last couple of nights, but those are some pretty wicked storms there. I still see this little vortex up there near Manitou, which could increase some of those winds. And again, there could be some gustnados up there at that too. And then again down south, really seeing some pretty strong winds there gusting through Davidson at this hour. Cameron, all right, well, let's go to Cameron then. All right, so we're going to go to Cameron. Cameron is in the tracker, and we're going to go to Cameron here in just a minute to find out what's going on there in the tracker. These are some interesting storms here tonight too. They really are. You see them all interacting. So Cameron, what do you see?
All right, Ken, so something kind of interesting happened as we passed through Oakland Union on 287. I don't see anything on radar that supports it, but we almost drove right through what looked almost like a downburst signature, like right on the road. We were driving and we saw a downward thrust into the surface, and in turn, a lot of rain kicked up on the windshield. Winds came right at us rather than compared to out of the due south right now. Those winds came directly at the tracker, so due west. And on top of that, when it happened, all the street lights did flicker when we saw that what was maybe a downburst. So I don't know if there's anything you're seeing on radar that could have suggested that near Oakland Union, but definitely a pretty unique feature that we did just experience about 5 minutes ago. So I want to share that with you and let you know that something wicked just kind of dropped down out of the sky. Not a tornado, but I think it might have been a downburst, Ken.
No doubt about it. I see it on radar. We were actually talking about that a little while ago, how we saw this downburst developing across the eastern parts there of Wilbarger County. And you've experienced exactly what we were looking at on radar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk over to the wall here for a minute and kind of talk about these storms on in front of the green screen and just kind of break it down. These, even though we're not dealing with tornadoes, these winds and these storms, and this is a large area too. This is wicked wind speeds over this way, and I do believe that that's going to create. I'm just looking here, so I'm just reading the weather service. I wouldn't be, could see a tornado warning come out for this. Yeah, because what you're seeing here is you're seeing mergers of these boundaries. And I know I've been saying that tornado threats, but these kind of things do happen occasionally. And that's why we couldn't put the tornado threat at 0. But we are looking at some very strong wind gusts here near the Frederick radar, a little bit of what we call a vortex. And this could possibly be, something like a gustnado is kind of what I kind of think it might be on the leading edge there of all that. So I am watching it, though, to see. And what you got going on here is you got the thunderstorms that are down here into Wilbarger County. And that's producing winds lifting northward. And it's interacting now with these storm winds up here to the north. So you've got converging winds, and you've seen a really increase in these wind patterns here. And there are some little small vortexes showing up in here. That's going to be either an area of enhanced wind, or maybe a little gustnado, maybe a little weak spin up there. But this is going to be mesoscale interactions once again. Not like last night. These are not supercells, but they still could produce maybe some little quick spin ups down there quickly. You can kind of see it there just on the south side of the radar. You see how this red color, that represents winds blowing away. And now we got these thunderstorms coming in from the south. So you've got different wind directions. You've got one coming from the due northwest. You've got another one coming up from the south. And where these boundaries are interacting, you're getting some swirls now. So it looks like that the threat is kind of transitioning a little bit to maybe a gustnado or a weak spin-up kind of ordeal here. Certainly not like what we saw last night. But these collisions, they do happen. So you get these signatures. You had storms that were moving to the east, and then you got these. It's just these weak wind shear environments. They do make it hard to see. Now we may not see a tornado out of this, but again, maybe some weak, some type of weak circulation, maybe like a gustnado or something like that. The atmosphere still isn't real favorable. The wind shear in the low levels just isn't there. The thunderstorms are having to generate their own little wind shear here, and they're doing that with these boundaries. So increasing wind damage showing up now near Frederick and south of Frederick. And we'll probably see that kind of continue over here in the southern part of Tillman County. Eventually this could head towards Granville, Loveland, Hollister over in this area, Chattanooga up to the north. This is still a good ways away from Wichita Falls, and we're not too worried about the city here, not just yet anyway. In fact, it looks like the winds, at least being estimated on radar, are not quite as strong as they were a few minutes ago. Let me see if there's anything new from the Weather Service here. Yeah, nothing new. Looks like Tipton had a 60-mile-per-hour wind gust there a little bit ago. They're changing the velocity, the type of scan I'm doing now, and we're looking at what's called storm relative velocities. One velocity takes the wind motion, takes the motion in the storm out so you can see things a little bit better. The other one keeps the motion in. And you don't really see any couplet in there, any type of gate-to-gate shear, but again, you do get these interactions, these boundaries, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's a gustnado over in here at this time. But being night, you may not see it. Looks like there's some strong winds also now developing on the back side of that, maybe over towards Vernon. If we look at the reflectivity, that'd be on the back side of this thunderstorm area. Let me turn down some of these colors here so it isn't quite so noisy on radar. And you're seeing a bit of a push now to the storms into the eastern parts of Wichita. So we're going to probably have to bump up the time frame to 12 o'clock, probably 12:30. Also seeing some storms develop out ahead of that. New severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for the southern parts of Archer County. And once again, you do see some very heavy rain, smaller hail, and some strong gusty winds building through Archer. We got a new warning now up for Young County. This would include Alny and Graham and Newcastle. If we take a look at the winds down here in this part of the storm, there are some strong wind gusts showing up. Right along 380, just south of Alny, there could be some wind speeds. Right now, it looks like estimating somewhere around maybe 40, 50 miles per hour. They could be a little stronger in some of those areas, and that also extends down to the south. Pretty large area storms moving through tonight. Back up to the north, you're now seeing these winds increasing, perhaps some strong wind gusts not too far away from Iowa Park at this hour. So Iowa Park is it, and it still looks like there's some strong wind gusts up there in the eastern parts of Tillman County, but it doesn't look quite as strong as it did, maybe a minute ago. But you still have a lot of these mergers taking place, and that could increase the potential for damaging winds. And again, with these different wind motions coming out of these thunderstorms, you can get a little spin-up type gustnado. And let me tell my viewers here that gustnados are different than tornadoes. They're not the same. A tornado is associated directly with the thunderstorm, okay, and it can create a lot of damage and a lot of just scary stuff, right? Because now the energy from the storm is being focused through that tornado. Well, with a gustnado, it's just the wind currents in the storm beneath it can cause the air to spin underneath the shelf cloud or the leading edge of the storm, like a dust devil. That's kind of what they're equivalent to. And it's not a tornado. You're not going to get a tornado warning for those, but you might see that right in there, kind of southeast of Frederick, and as these storms merge, and you're going to see quite a bit of I think heavy rain continue to unfold here in the eastern parts of Tillman County, and we're starting to see now a little push into Wichita County. Burt Burnett, you're nothing here yet. Looks like the rain is falling in Electra and trying to head over towards Iowa Park. Some heavy rain there, and all this activity continues to lift up to the north. New storm activity here in parts of Comanche County. And with all this heavy rain tonight, you're going to get some flooding. It's not moving that quick. We'll probably see some flooding taking place here soon in Tillman County and maybe even down to the south. Maybe even here in Wichita County could be some flooding as this heavy rain continues. Some of our watershed will get this, but the heaviest part of the rain appears to be missing the watershed tonight. We've done real good on rain as of late, too. So we certainly would be nice to be able to see heavy rain in the watershed, but we're not getting a lot of that down there yet. Now, if we go down further here into Wichita Falls and Wichita County, the thunderstorms that we've been keeping our eye on over there in Wilbarger, they finally have made a bit of a push to the east. So if you look at the push to the east here, you're getting heavy rain now and starting to about to move into, or could be near Iowa Park. These are not severe. These are sub-severe. They're below severe limits. They could perhaps increase a bit up towards Granville, but it looks like we got some heavy rain, non-severe weather right now in Iowa Park, and some downpours there in Electra. These are still west of Wichita Falls, but there are some showers developing to the south of the city, and they could make their way up here into the city. We may wind up seeing the dome effect. Imagine that take shape here. So we could wind up seeing this batch of storms move kind of over into this direction, and this batch of storms here move more like this. And while there are some storms in between, you may get a bit of a lull right in that area where they're not as much in the way of heavy rain. So while we could see some pretty good storms in those areas still, the two heaviest might pass north and south of Wichita Falls. The old dome effect taking place there, right? And those heavy storms, look at how many storms are out there tonight. There's just a bunch, all the way down to Austin and Waco and just north of Houston. A lot of storms here moving through Texas tonight. Looks like we'll see another good round of it tomorrow night. But the storms tonight are going to play a role in what happens tomorrow. We can kind of I'm trying to show you a little bit of weather data here. This is from earlier. So the storms are already moving east of that area. But this is tomorrow. So there's a couple of thoughts about tomorrow. And tomorrow would be one of those situations where we have, where you've got these thunderstorms that are pushing through tonight. And as they move on through, they're going to pull a lot of the moisture and energy out of the atmosphere. They're just going to. It's just too many of them out there not to. So when you wake up in the morning, while it still may be a bit humid, it'll probably be a bit on the cool side. The atmosphere has to re-energize and recharge in this type of a situation. It's not like we have this vigorous storm system moving. These are small-scale things. So the sun comes out. We need some sunshine to come out to heat things up and start boiling that humidity. And then late in the day, if that can happen and we can build up some more storm energy, we'll be looking for any of these old leftover thunderstorm boundaries. They generate these rain-cool boundaries. And wherever that lies, and you won't know until tomorrow during the day. There'll probably be several of them around. But wherever those thunderstorm boundaries lie, it's where you have a chance for it to alter the environment enough to produce perhaps maybe some slow-moving supercells that could perhaps spin a little bit along those boundaries. So low-end tornado threats, and with the more thunderstorms, flooding threats continue tomorrow. In fact, while I don't have as much rain in the forecast on Friday, there still could be some around Friday night. another wave Saturday night, and then we'll see what happens next week. Some indications that we could see some storming is early on, and then maybe a change to the weather pattern perhaps that might not offer quite as much, but that remains to be seen. Let's get through tonight first. We'll get through tomorrow, and then we'll worry about the rest later. Cameron, let's go over to you now in the storm tracker, and Cameron, looks like you got some good lightning strikes. Looks like you're out of the heavy rain now.
Yeah, Ken, right now we're currently on 287 West. We're about 30 miles west of the falls, and we drove through those intense winds earlier near Oakland Union. Our wind station clocked about 70 mile per hour wind gusts with that system. Not only that, when we were clearing Oakland Union, we actually got hit with a downburst. We were driving, the winds were coming out roughly from the south, and when it happened, you could see the movement. You saw it hit the ground, all the rain splashed up towards the tractor's windshield, and then on top of that, the wind just went wicked, and then the street lights flashed, but they came back on right away, luckily. But, so we experienced that. So right now, we're just dealing with a lot of heavy rain, and the highway itself, 287, starting to see some pretty good ponding right now. So if you are on the road right now, I assume if you're watching right now, you're probably not on the road, but some pretty good ponding going on these roads as well right now, Ken. So we kind of have to keep our speed a little bit below the speed limit. But right now, we're moving towards the Wichita Falls, and we're probably going to cut north towards Burke Burnett. That line looks like it could try to go towards Burke a little bit. I haven't peeked at radar in about the past 5 minutes, so we're going to keep ourselves out ahead of that line and try to get ourselves back in front of it, because it was too hard to get through that line, not only because it's harder to get across the river with the lack of road networks across, but also those winds were wicked, and we were only going about 30 miles per hour through this because the visibility was just awful, because you have that strobe light effect within that heavy wind. So you get the sideways rain that's already reducing your visibility. That on top of the strobe light lightning made it really hard to see. And right now, looks like it's starting to get some more messy weather once again. So that's the latest from the tracker, Ken, and we should be around the falls in about 25 minutes, and then we'll probably start cutting north towards Burke Burnett. Keep an eye on that line.
Thanks a lot, Cameron. Back over to the radar. And 60 mile per hour winds have been reported with this area of storms up there into the Hollister area, which is east of Frederick. So it sounds like we got some strong winds that certainly you can see it on radar. We got the velocities pulled up, and wow, those are some strong winds. You can see where it's at there on radar, and that is some very, very strong winds here blowing. And where you see that little yellowish whitish color, that's wind gust up to about 60 to 70 mile per hour wind speed, not only being estimated by radar, but also spotters are confirming that too now. So damaging wind potentials continue to increase there. Southern parts of Tillman County, Loveland, Hollister, southward into Granfield here shortly. It's going to move over towards Duval. So if you are into the Duval area, we're looking towards you. Granfield, Duval, you're next. Maybe into Burke Burnett, moving pretty quick now. These winds are really causing these storms to surge out. So strong winds, Granfield, Burke Burnett. We'll see if they can make it down into Wichita. They may just kind of stay and hug the Red River, maybe kind of stay up there just north of the Red River. Now, I'm not going to forget about what's going on to the south here, too. We've got some less strong winds, some gusty winds, but not as strong, moving through Iowa Park now and flirting with the western side of Wichita Falls. And, Jake, give me just a second. I've got to give me just a second. I'll be right back for everybody here watching the coverage. So give me just a second. All right, so we are back, and we are watching these storms. So the storms moving into Wichita Falls don't appear to be as bad as the stuff up north of us. There's some gusty winds moving into Iowa Park. So some gusty winds moving into Iowa Park now with this little round of rain moving through. We've also got some heavy rain with some severe thunderstorm warnings down to the south. So I'm about to do a little update here on News Channel 6, so give me just a second. All right, here's the latest radar update for you. Remember, we are extending coverage over on the 24/7 News Channel and also on Facebook Live. Watching some really strong winds still blowing through the southern parts of Tillman County. Heavy rain and perhaps some flooding. And emergency managers reporting at least 60-mile-per-hour winds with some of these storms up here into Tillman County. And where you see these bright pinks and the little whitish yellow colors, very strong winds moving into Granfield at this time. Those winds, again, could exceed 60 to 70 miles per hour. From there, they're moving kind of east-southeast and headed right at Burke-Burnett. So strong winds are expected in excess of 50 to 70 miles per hour into this arch here. So Chattanooga, Granfield, kind of over here towards the Loveland area, maybe down to the south, Duval and Randelette. We'll be watching you for these strong winds, as well as Burke-Burnett, and maybe down to the northern side of Wichita Falls, maybe in the next 30 to 45 minutes up to 1 hour. These are not tornadic winds, but they certainly are strong enough winds to create some power outages and maybe even bring some damaging winds with it. And it looks like some of these winds are spreading out now back this direction, so we may have to eventually include Wichita Falls in on that as well if these trends do continue. Now down to the south, we're also watching some strong winds with some of these stronger storms across the southern parts of Archer County. These winds don't appear to be as strong as those up to the north, but there are some storms developing out ahead of it, and heavy rainfall continues to increase there in the Young County, down towards Alny, Newcastle, and Graham. And there could be some strong gusty winds as this line bows in from the west. So even in Graham, here soon, some of those winds could really pick up. As of right now, hard to say what the wind speeds are. They don't appear to be as strong down this way as they are up to the north, but I still wouldn't be surprised to see some 40 and 50-mile-per-hour wind speeds down that way as well. Here in Wichita Falls, we're seeing the storms finally make a bit of a move to the east. We're seeing heavy rain in Iowa Park, and we're about to see some of this heavy rain build over into Wichita Falls here shortly as well. For extended coverage, 24/7 News Channel, that's 6.4, are on Facebook Live. All right, so we are back on here. We're back on the 24/7 News Channel, and we're also on Facebook Live here tonight. I know there's probably a lot of people asking questions on Facebook Live, and I haven't had a chance to answer them. A lot of times when I get busy tracking radar, I'm not having have the opportunity to look at all the people asking questions. But I'm going to try to take a minute to do that now, to answer some questions as these storms blowing on through here. So we also probably got some damage reports in there too. Let's see here. Somebody asked anything super concerning. No, I wouldn't say super concerning, Michael, but we do have these strong winds. They're thunderstorm wind gusts, not tornadic wind gusts. There are thunderstorm wind gusts that could exceed 60 miles per hour as they move southeastward here over the next several hours through Tillman, Cotton, Wichita, Clay, and maybe even over into Jefferson County. There's some flooded roads there, perhaps in Monday, being reported by a viewer. So no power in the Oakland Union area at this time. Young County, you are under that severe thunderstorm warning down to the south. The whole entire county, I believe, is under that warning. But, the wind gusts to me in that part of the line don't look quite as significant as up to the north. But it's going to put down a lot of rain there in Young County. And Graham, you're going to get very, very wet here soon. Looks like some storms are now firing up over into Clay County. Could be some rain increasing and small pea-sized hail possible into the Henrietta area shortly. Look at all that. There's a lot of rain, though, coming in. Still seeing the significant winds there blowing through Tillman County, and it's a large swath of them, too, moving through. That's a lot of wind. Now starting to cross the Red River just north of Pumpkin Center, north of Electra. These will be blowing into Burke-Burnett here soon. So some strong wind gusts, 50, maybe 60 mile per hour coming into Duval and coming through Granfield and about to move into Burke-Burnett shortly. Remember, there could be some little gust tornadoes up there, but with it being nighttime, you probably wouldn't see them, no way. Up here into Lawton and Comanche County, you can see a bit of a swirl up here. That is probably just going to be the northern apex of this area's storms. There could be a little bit of a damaging wind increase there in northern part of Comanche County there too. Very heavy rain increasing across Comanche County. So anywhere really along this line, has a potential to see flooding here tonight. So, you know, it's not moving real fast. There's two areas of very heavy rain, one north of the Red River, one kind of south of Wichita Falls. You see some stronger storms now building into the city. Probably getting some rain now in the west end of town, raining heavily in Iowa Park. Cameron Lindsay's in the Comanche Nation Entertainment Storm Tracker. Cameron, what do you guys, it looks like a lot of lightning, not seeing much there, but what do you guys, where are you guys at this time?
Ken, you nailed it. Not seeing much. That's the story right now. We're still on 287 West. We're going east. What our goal is to be in Burke-Burnett by in about 20 minutes because we're trying to get ahead of that main portion of that Boeing segment. But the roads are just absolutely horrendous, Ken. It's, you know, the winds aren't too bad where we're at right now. We're probably about, oh goodness, probably about 15-ish miles west of Wichita Falls, but, you know, it's the heavy, I mean, this rain is coming down in buckets, and you might even be able to hear it over in the microphone, some of the water, you can hear it, I don't say lodging up in the wheels, but you can hear the puddles just constantly getting kicked up with the tracker. So it's that combined with the constant lightning, that strobe effect, it is, the visibility conditions are just absolutely horrendous right now. And I heard you make that talk about that report of power outages in Oakland Union. That's exactly where we drove for that downburst, and we did see the street lights flicker over 287. So I'm not surprised about those power outages. But right now, Ken, we're going to keep pushing on through 287. We're having to take our time limit because, like I said, visibility is not good, and there's a lot of water on these roads. So you got to take it easy on these roads right now because you don't want to hydroplane. So hopefully should be in Burke-Burnett in about 20 minutes, but we're not going to go too crazy and overdo it and put ourselves in danger. So we'll keep you updated, Ken.
All right, thanks a lot there, Cameron. Y'all be safe out there. You know, number one priority always is safety first. Just don't drive too fast and just take your time. All right, back over to the radar, and it looks like we're seeing an increase in the damaging wind potential now down into Archer County, pretty close to Lake Kickapoo. I can show you the winds, speeds, and directions on that. And basically right over Lake Kickapoo, you really see a bit of an increase there in those bright greens and those red colors there. So you probably do see a bit of a strong wind gust right over the lake, and that's going to kind of move north of Archer City. Although Archer City, you'll probably get slapped with some of those strong winds there too. So Lake Kickapoo, Archer City northward, maybe up to just south of Holiday. And maybe eventually over towards Scotland. There could be a bit of an increase in some damaging wind threats over that way with these storms here. So we'll keep an eye on that. But that is some increasing signs of damaging winds there. And look at how everything is just really merged. Those storm clusters have really merged. And look at how widespread the pink colors you see now on radar are up there. And this is going to be for just spreading throughout all of eastern Tillman. This is now spreading into the southern parts of Comanche County. This is about to overspread all of Cotton County. And then we get down into Wichita County too, and you're seeing these winds now crossing the Red River. We're about to see the winds pick up in Burke-Burnett shortly. These winds are not, maybe they're not quite as strong in such a compact area as they were, but it may be even more damage because they've spread out now. So instead of just looking at just a little swath of some wind damage, you may see a larger area of wind damage. Could be some power outages with this as it makes its way through Cotton County and maybe brushing northern Wichita County. The winds are picking up some now in Wichita Falls. You're seeing a bit of push now, acceleration. So the wind speeds could increase here in the city shortly. Remember, this is not tornadic. So people that are scared and waking up and finding this on social media or on the 24/7 news channel, you might think to yourself, oh, was a tornado? No, that's not what that is. This is just going to be some strong winds, but it's still going to be enough to scare you. So you could be awakened by these strong winds. You could be you know, the thunder, the lightning could be also something that could be waking you up. I still see stronger winds just barely north of the Red River here. Going to pass, passing through Granfield now, and these headed right at Burke-Burnett. So we'll see if they can push into Burke-Burnett. Just really interesting storm complexes to watch. You know, you don't have a lot of strong wind speeds in the atmosphere, so you don't have your traditional supercell thunderstorms here. These are more kind of linear type things, but still pretty interesting, to say the least, to watch these interactions and these what we call mesoscale collisions take place. A lot of chaos. Down into Archer County, still seeing some strong gusts over Lake Kickapoo. Let's go down into Young County too. Don't want to forget our friends down there in Graham and Alney. Your main line of thunderstorms just passed through Prophet and it's merging with those little storms out ahead of it. Heavy storms on either side of Albany now. It'll be raining heavily there, raining heavily in Graham at this hour. These storms are going to develop over towards Jacksboro. You'll get in on the act here pretty soon too. Clay County, you're seeing an increase in thunderstorms, especially from Blue Grove to the west of Bellevue, kind of developing up towards Henrietta. Some thunderstorms over the city now here in Wichita Falls, and you're about to see this line, which has increased a bit now in coverage and in intensity, kind of exploding here now. So you're about to see the rain pick up right along Interstate 44, Burt Burnett into Wichita Falls. Heavy rain at this hour into Iowa Park. Heavy rain down towards Holiday. Looks like Lakeside City seeing some showers, nothing major at this time. And then there's the increase in the storm activity down there into Archer County. There's about to be a pretty good increase in heavy rainfall. I'm hoping some of this will at least get in the Lake Arrowhead watershed. We're probably about to see a really good increase in the rainfall across this area here shortly. You're seeing it already down here as well. But you know, really good areas. So our weather information did a phenomenal job on tracking these storms here today and tonight. They nailed it. Of course, you know, timing wise, they can be a little bit off sometimes, but you know, that's why we have to make the adjustments ourselves. So. But there it is, heavy rain, Granfield, Chattanooga, into Burt Burnett now, about to come into Wichita Falls. Looking at those winds, pretty spread out, and the winds are increasing in intensity, headed into Wichita Falls now. So if we stop this, and a lot of this has been cell merger, which has created this. We're seeing these wind gusts trying to pick up now towards Iowa Park, you know, into the 40 to 45 mile per hour range, and yeah, we could see that increase some too. Look up to the north there into southern Oklahoma, 50, 55, 60 mile per hour winds up there. So it's not quite as strong. We were looking at some 80 mile per hour winds. We're not seeing that now, but still seeing those strong wind gusts. Not quite as strong down to the south in Young County, but still some gusty winds there with those storms. Now up into Lawton, new warning. This warning does include you. And there's another one of those little swirls. We call this a little meso-vortex, very small area of low pressure that's developed, and that could increase some of those wind speeds in the storm, especially up north of Lawton. And if that thing holds together, we've seen this several times. This is not tornadic in nature, but there could be some gustnados with this. You see another one that's kind of popping up down there near Chattanooga at this hour. You can see the little indentation right on the other side of Faxon, and that's south of Lawton. So, you know, anytime you see these little swirls here, probably what we're looking at the storm interaction, and probably what you're looking at is going to be what we call gustnados within that. That's just on the leading edge. You're probably seeing some little swirls that are probably leading to some type of little swirl beneath the cloud that's going to be a gustnado. But that can increase the damaging wind potential with these little vortex signatures. Down to the south here in Wichita Falls, the wind's about to pick up. The wind's picking up a little bit now in some areas, but you're really seeing a bit of an increase in the rear inflow jet of this line of thunderstorms here. Let's go to Cameron in the Comanche Nation Storm Tracker. Cameron, have you made it up to Interstate 44 yet? Which direction are you headed at this time?
Ken, we're still not on Interstate 44 yet. The GPS has us going. We're 4 miles west, and we'll be turning onto 369. I believe from there we'll start to go north on that route. But yeah, the winds have died down, but that's just because we're starting to see ourselves get a little more and slowly further and further away from that leading edge of the wind, that Boeing segment that is currently Wichita Falls. As we get further away from that, the winds do start to drop off more and more, of course. But again, you know, right now where I'm at, the big story is going to be this rain. This rain is, the best way to put it is, I mean, I don't expect everyone to be driven through Chicago, but if you've ever been through a Chicago blizzard, this is what it's like, except this is rain. This is as close as it gets to a blizzard with the visibility conditions. That, you can combine that with the constant strobe light of the lightning. It is just still absolutely terrible visibility conditions. Our saving grace right now is that our winds at our location have in fact dropped off. So, oh, there's actually a really good cloud to ground lightning strike right there. But that's what we've been seeing, a lot of cloud to ground lightning along 287. So our GPS has us in Burt Burnett in 14 miles. We're trying to get there and see if we can get to Burt Burnett as that strong surge of winds does get to Burt Burnett. We'll see if we're able to, just because I cannot go super fast just with all the ponding on these roads. Even 287. 287 does have a lot of ponding on it, so I'm going as fast as I safely can right now, pretty well under the speed limit right now, but that's the story right now. Kind of along 27 is this heavy rain and the ponding that we're seeing on these roads right now. So hopefully in the next 15 minutes we are stopped in Burke Burnett and getting ready to wait for those winds. We'll have to wait and see if we can make it there in time with the way these road conditions are.
Thanks a lot, Cameron. Y'all stay safe again. So here's what we're looking at. Let's go back to the radar. This is pretty interesting. Along this line, there's these little meso-vortexes we've been seeing at kind of pop up. They haven't been particularly long lasting, but here in Comanche County, we're seeing several of them here. There's kind of one up north of Cache, and then you kind of follow the line. You can see another little spin there south of Cache, and another one kind of just east of Faxon. And these little spins are headed towards Lawton. These are not big-time tornadoes by any means. There's probably, again, like I say, more along the lines of probably gustnadoes, or if there is a tornado in that, would probably be very weak at most. But anywhere up in here, there's definitely increased chances for damaging winds now from Cache, just east of Faxon, headed towards Interstate 44 from Geronimo up to Lawton. We're monitoring this area closely. Weather Service is too. I wouldn't be surprised if they wind up issuing a tornado warning for that. I hope they keep it as tornado possible, though. I think that probably covers it, the best way, because these things really haven't been, very long lasting, to say the least. Here's just a little different velocity product I'm looking at, but that's not a bad little, little circulation up there, especially considering the shear that's being weak as it is in the atmosphere, though. We'll see if any of that can kind of fester up along the line down to the south, and we go down further south, and the wind speed's probably going to pick up a little bit here in Wichita Falls some. And the rain is also picking up the northern side of Wichita Falls. Now, over the city itself, not a lot of rain yet. There's some showers out there, but the heavier stuff's about to get going here soon. Heavy rain down there into northern parts of Archer County, filling in. Holiday seeing some pretty good showers at this moment. These showers increasing over towards the south end of Wichita Falls and Lakeside City. And you're going to be looking at these storms picking up some of that wind speed. About to see cell merger there between Archer City and the storms coming in from the western side of Archer County, and that could increase some of the damaging wind potential across the eastern parts of Archer County and over into Clay County. We widen this, and again, down into Young County, heavy rain right now, lots of thunder, lightning in the Graham area. We look at the wind speeds, and they are increasing some, not as strong as to the north, but still some 30, 40 mile per hour wind gusts there. No tornadic signatures down this way, but certainly would be some strong winds up in those areas. But we're back up here investigating this stuff. Now we got a lot going on, investigating these storms up here into Comanche County. I'm looking at the Weather Service here and monitoring, and no tornado warnings coming out. That's good. I hope that unless things change a bit, I hope that they keep it at this, because these things have been popping up periodically tonight, and they are some organized little spins there, but these are not like the storms we saw last night. These are not big tornadoes. They're probably more like gustnadoes than anything else. But some of those could be moving into Lawton shortly. So if you live in Lawton, Geronimo, over towards Interstate 44, you've got some strong winds coming in your area, and these little spins could create maybe some stronger wind gusts that could create some wind damage there tonight as they make their way through Comanche County. If we look at the reflectivity, heavy rain is also falling over in Comanche County, could result in some flooding. It's just raining heavily, just basically anywhere from Comanche County all the way down to the Red River. Heavy rain in Burke Burnett. Heavy rain has overspread the northern side, or just north of Wichita Falls, between Wichita Falls and Burke Burnett. It's raining heavily at this hour. And then you go down to the south, and the rain is trying to pick up some and increase on the west-southwest side of Wichita Falls. And we'll probably see the rain increase here some soon. And then you're seeing a lot of rain now over into Clay County and Montague County. That's not in Montague County. You're not seeing the line yet, but you are seeing these thunderstorms develop out ahead of it some. So heavy rainfall coming out of these storms here tonight. Let's look at the widespread wind velocities. They definitely are spread out, but they're not as wicked as they were earlier. You can really see that surge up to the north. Looks like this is from Wichita County spotter, 38 mile per hour winds there, I-44 Missile Road. So, you're definitely seeing some of those wind gusts between about the 30 and 40, 50 mile per hour with some of that. So not quite as strong yet here in Wichita Falls. I think that the better chance for the damaging winds are going to be with this part of the line that's moving up here into Comanche County. So if you look, you can see these little waves in there, little kinks, and these are going to enhance the damaging wind potential over small areas. We're looking at that headed right at 277, close to and south of Walters, down towards Geronimo, or actually from Walters up to Geronimo and Lawton. That's where you're going to see these damage. There's particularly a pretty strong one right there. That could indicate some winds that could get up to 70 miles per hour, headed right at 44. And this is going to be overspreading Lawton here soon. So some potential damaging winds headed into Lawton soon. This could perhaps create power outages and maybe some what looks like mostly minor wind damage. It's a bit of a stronger surge. And oftentimes when you do get these little meso circulations here, they'll cause the line to bow out some. And you're kind of seeing that bow now take place along the Cotton and Comanche County line. If you look downwind from there, you got eastern Comanche and the eastern parts of Cotton County here up next. And then you got new warnings that have now included the western parts of Stevens and Jefferson County. Basically draw a line from about Waurika to just south of Duncan's where the new warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings, are located. Now here at the station, I do hear the wind's picking up. It is very windy outside now with this line of storms pushing on through. So this is going to continue to blow on through here in the city here, and you know, just by the sound of it, it doesn't sound particularly strong here at the station. And it looks like the strongest winds are up there towards Burke Burnett. Cameron, have you guys gotten into the winds up there in Burke yet?
No, Ken, we have not gotten the winds yet, but trying to give you guys a straightforward look. You can see it right now on the camera. This is looking straight ahead of the tractor right now, and it's still on the backside of these winds, Ken. It's just been hard to keep up as he's continued to surge forward. Not like that, but again, the pounding on these roads. But our GPS has us in Burke Burnett in right around 10 minutes. I think it looks to me, when I looked at radar last, looks like the heaviest winds were about to be in Burke. So as we're pushing northward, we're getting into stronger and stronger winds. But now the good news is that we are off some on some country roads now, so we're not dealing with much in terms of other drivers, so we're able to use our illumination tools, that's what you want to call it. So we have pretty good visibility now as we continue to push northward right now towards Burke. So we're on 369 pushing north. We're turning off to the east in 7 miles, the GPS says. So we're going to try to get up there, Ken. It's going to be a close call as if we can make it or not, but we'll do our best to get there.
It's going to be tough because those winds are really pushing through Burke now. They'll probably be on through there pretty soon. But, you know, there's still some pretty strong winds up there in the northern part of Wichita County being estimated by radar. Strongest winds I see on radar are still up there in the Comanche County from about Geronimo to about Lawton. There's some isolated spots up there could see some 50 to 60, 70 mile per hour winds. Then we go down to the south, and it looks to me like the winds have increased some with a bit of a bow. One of those little meso-vortices are showing up down near Archer City, moving east-northeast, moving at 281. It's going to pass just north of Archer City and kind of head towards 281 between Lakeside City and Scotland. So you might see a bit of a damaging wind type threat increase from this here kind of over into this area. Maybe a Lake Arrowhead coming up here pretty soon. And they're not moving incredibly fast, but they have picked up enough speed where time right now is, what, 12:15? I would think maybe over there into the Lake Arrowhead area by around 1 o'clock, maybe a little bit thereafter, some strong wind gusts with that. So they're watching down there. Now we watch also down to the south into Graham, and there's some more of these strong wind signatures showing up down in Young County. There's winds blowing through Graham and Bunger at this hour. Some of those winds are trying to pick up, so maybe some power outages down there with some of those stronger gusty winds. In addition to that, it's just pouring down rain in Graham at this hour. I mean, it is pouring down rain. I can probably pull up, if they have electricity, that is, I can probably pull up my Graham tower cam. It's 72 there, 91% humidity. Doesn't look like at least the top of the hour observed winds were that strong, but the winds themselves at this hour are probably pretty strong down there in Graham. And it is raining very heavily. And it's that heavy rain that could create some flooding. You can see the ponding of the water on the roadways there into the Graham area, there in the Young County. Let's look up the way into Lawton. And I know our friends over at KSWO have probably got the camera positioned west here as this line of storms comes in from the west tonight. You know, you don't see a lot of lightning, at least from this vantage point, but those winds are going to pick up there in Lawton shortly. Not tornadic winds, they're going to be straight line winds. But they still could produce some damage there, some power outages there shortly. Matter of fact, we'll go back up here and take a look. The strongest winds to me appear to be about to come into Lawton now. So basically from Geronimo to Lawton, where you see these little indents here, you can kind of see them, little waves here. Little straightforward wind gusts there, and some of these winds could still gust up above 50 and 60 miles per hour, which could create some power outages in these areas. So, and pretty strong winds also kind of headed up towards Elgin. Let's go down to the south. We follow the line. Strong winds coming up on Taylor and Walters. Those winds could be 40, 50, not quite as strong as they were, 40 and 50. It looks like the strong winds blowing through Burkburnett. Looks like Cameron is not going to catch those, as they are they're coming through there now, and they're probably going to be subsiding before too much longer. I do want to say that on the back side of these storms, even after they kind of move on out, there is what we call a wake low has developed. And what a wake low is, just a little area of low pressure. It forms because of the difference in temperatures, okay? So you got this area of rain-cooled, stable air east of it, and this gets a little bit complex, but just to the west of that, you get a sudden rise in temperature. So once that rain area moves through, then the temperature goes back up, begins to rise back up a little bit. So you get this difference in temperature. What? My battery? Huh?
Cameron needs to talk to you.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's go to Cameron. Oh, okay. All right. Give me a second here, guys. Give me a second. All right. Back, y'all. So we are taking a look here. These just a lot of heavy rain and wind pushing through tonight, and it looks like the worst of the weather is going to miss Wichita Falls, so that's good news. But the rain is expanding, and the good news is that heavy rain is also expanding down in the watershed, especially the Lake Arrowhead. So every little bit helps, and with everything saturated the way it is, that's going to all run off into the lakes. That is some very good news. But anyway, I was talking about that wake low. When you get these different, so cool air is typically associated with higher pressure, so you can kind of pretend there's a high here, and then as you warm back up, you get a little bit of an area of low pressure back here. Well, air always flows towards low pressure, so you get this gradient, and it can create some strong winds in the backside. It's called a wake low. It develops in the wake of those storms, which is why they call it a wake low. So even after the storm moves out, there could be some strong winds blowing, on the backside of those storms. This will not be thunderstorm-related winds, but there will be some strong wind gusts with a wake low. We see that from time to time here. Sometimes those winds can be really strong too. Storms are increasing down into Jack County. Heavy rain over into Henrietta now. I'm not seeing any flood warnings, so that is good news. But if you take a look here of the last 3 hours, we can take a look at what we estimate as far as rainfall totals over the last 3 hours. Some of this can be skewed by hail, so it's contaminated, but the number is this is based on what's called DBZs, and DBZs are they're a little brighter when you see those hail colors. But it looks like rainfall amounts that fell early, about 2 to 2.5 inches down here in southern Baylor and into Throckmorton County, over into Wilbarger County. Rainfall amounts about 1 inch to 1.5 inches, and it fell in a pretty short amount of time. Rainfall amounts up in the Lawton area about 1 inch to 1.5 inches. So far, we haven't seen a lot here in Wichita Falls. Back towards Quanah, about 2-inch rainfall amounts. These are all estimated rainfall amounts. Down towards Graham, estimated rainfall amounts this hour showing up about 1 inch, 1.5 inches. So, this is falling in a short period of time and could lead to at least some flash flooding. It does appear anyway that the overall severe threat remains on the lower side, and in fact you don't see quite as much in the way of strong wind gusts as you did. There's still some isolated areas down into Archer County, and you still see these bow echoes and these little what's called little vortex signatures that show up. And you know, I know that sounds scary, but they're really not. They're into parts of Comanche, and oh, look at that one. That one really expanded there south of Lawton. So where you get these, you kind of get a little bit of an increase in the strong wind gusts. They're blowing out from the storm. So you're seeing some of those stronger wind gusts now blowing through Geronimo, and that could create some power outages. That is moving due east along the Cotton and Comanche County line. It's going to move. There's going to be some gusty winds down in Walters too, and towards Temple. Then that heads over towards Stevens County, moving pretty fast too. Duncan, Comanche, and you might get some of that down in Waurika. But I think at least right now it looks like the strongest might pass north of Waurika. There's some strong wind gusts in Lawton at this hour, but the strongest are south of you, kind of where you're seeing these little sways or these little indentions or little dents in these storms down here. Strong winds there. Those are probably 60 to 70 mile per hour winds gusting out through Geronimo. That's probably going to create some power outages here. Winds are about to pick up in Walter soon, and then it kind of goes into the rural parts of Comanche and Cotton County over this way, farmland. And then you get over here into Stevens County, Marlow, Duncan, Comanche. You would be next in line along Highway 81. Maybe in about, let's say, 30 to 60 minutes, probably 30 to 45 minutes, some of these strong wind gusts into Duncan could exceed, 50, 60 miles per hour there, which could also create some power outages. Boy, I'll tell you what, with this active weather as of late, it has been tough to catch my breath. I know a lot of people in the weather business in this part of the country really working hard since about Thursday of last week, and it just goes strong. And then we got another day of it tomorrow, another night of it though. But tomorrow, I did put first alert weather down tomorrow. And the reason I did that was because there is a potential for some pretty intense thunderstorms with some flooding and wind and really all severe weather hazards. But, it just depends on how everything goes. We have to recover from the night storms first. And time right now is 12:30, so we should be able to clear out and see some sunshine tomorrow, I would think. And while it may start off a bit on the cool side in the morning, it'll probably heat up, I think, enough in the afternoon to give us another round. But tomorrow you're going to be looking for these outflow boundaries. And usually these outflow boundaries are, we can stop this and kind of show you. But, these outflow boundaries, they kind of move along, but then they kind of get laid down in areas, and they'll just sit there. You really won't be able to see them until we get to tomorrow. Just areas of rain-cooled air, and it just enhance the, almost acts like a little front. It can enhance a bit of the storm activity there. So, all right, so what I'm about to do is, I got to catch my breath, folks. I'm going to jump off of the streaming and the 24/7 news channel right now. We're going to let the crawl handle a lot of this, and Cameron's going to is heading back here soon, and we'll kind of reevaluate everything. But I think that we're going to be okay overnight tonight. We will do some more updates if we need to, but as of right now, I'm going to just kind of jump off and let the crawl kind of handle this stuff. It doesn't like anything too serious at this time, so that's what I'm going to do. All right, well, we'll keep an eye on it, and I think that we're going to be okay, but I'm going to keep an eye on it anyway, but I'm going to take a little bit of a break myself for now and reevaluate, and we might come back on in a little